millions of people are struggling to learn a second language to compensate for something they never could accomplish in their first language.
Il faut pas avoir des illusions là. Je crois que c'est très difficile de parler comme un natif. Si par exemple tu vas aller vivre en France pendant 3, 4, 5 ans, petit à petit la prononciation va s'améliorer. Mais sinon c'est difficile. Mais sinon je crois que le français est un peu difficile à prononcer. Mais tu as une bonne prononciation parce que c'est naturel. C'est l'intonation, c'est la cadence qui est importante. Et pas les sons individuels.
我想学习一门容易学的语言，所以我去 Google 开始怎么说 search， 我知道 search 是什么但是我现在不能说出来。我觉得是没关系。I started searching.
It's vibes based. It's vibes based. You either have that dog in you, or you don't. You're either chomping at the weights, or you're not. That's what a PhD can't fucking give you.
With my PhD! PhD! With my PhD! PhD! With my PhD!
You're pedal to the metal, lifting weights with the best friends you've ever had. Gold's Gym, Venice Beach. And it's pain, and it's friendship, I think. And that just seemed a lot better. That just seemed a lot better than periodization. I don't want that anymore. I don't want that anymore. I don't want people telling me that Pilates doesn't work. I like it. I like it. I like the stupid exercises. And I don't need PhDs in my business telling me about like hypertrophy. I don't give a fuck. I'm spinning the wheel. I'm Sisyphus up the hill. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. I like that. I like that. If it's for your mind, it's physical therapy. I don't need a PhD telling me what to do, telling me how to feel.
PhD! PhD! PhD!
Millions of people are struggling to learn a second language to compensate for something they never could accomplish in their first language. Yeah, I said it. Now, I want to give you this significant caveat up front. This is a very American monologue. What I'm about to say will make a lot of sense to people who speak English in the United States, England, Canada, Australia. I have a couple of fans in Romania. They're going to be listening to this saying, what the hell are you talking about? Everyone in Romania needs to speak 3 languages just to survive. I have a couple of fans in Hungary. How many languages do you need on a daily basis in Hungary just to get by? It's a very fundamental difference in milieu that will make what I'm trying to explain here more difficult for some of those people to appreciate or understand. I nevertheless think this observation, this question of to what extent you're compensating for one language or another, it's worth taking seriously, even for the Romanians and Hungarians among us. Now look, I had a kid write into me maybe 5 years ago and explain that English is his first language, but he never learned handwriting. He never learned to communicate in his first language with a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper. And he sent me an image of his pathetic attempt to form words with the even more tragic explanation that his high school teachers had all dismissed this and just pretended it wasn't a problem, pretended it didn't really matter. At some point, he had asked a guidance counselor about it. He'd asked for help from some authority figure, And this person just did not want to help, could not be bothered, and said, don't worry about it. As if this wouldn't be an obstacle to his professional success. And I told him, I'm sure he'll remember this still to this day. I told him, you have to look at this as an emergency. This isn't a low priority. This isn't a problem that can be on the back burner. You are in a situation now that is just as dire as not having a single pair of shoes. Okay? It's one thing if you have a pair of shoes, but you don't have a good pair of shoes to wear to a job interview. Right? But you can still leave the house and try to buy a second pair of shoes. Okay? You have a pair of shoes that you can wear to a job interview, but you don't have a separate pair of shoes you can wear to a gym. I understand. But we're talking about an emergency situation here where you are going around barefoot because you can't read and write in your own first language. You can have no higher priority. And you have to go to the librarian and explain that. I talked him through exactly what kind of books he needs to ask the librarian for. He needs to get books that give him diagrams of how to form each of the letters and the ligatures for how the letters connect. And he has to practice writing them out. He has to practice every day until he's mastered writing in his first language. And you have to communicate that to all of your teachers at school and your parents, where you say, yeah, my top priority right now is being able to write in my own first language. And, obviously he was still going through the school system where he has to be able to write answers to essay questions on exams and things like that, right? So we're not even getting into the questions of how other people judge you on the basis of your handwriting, because that cuts a lot deeper than judging someone on the basis of their pair of shoes. What do you do when you don't even have one pair of shoes? What do you do when you haven't mastered your own first language, when there are serious gaps in your education, in your ability, in your own first language? Two other stories of this kind. All three of these people are white. One is American, two are Canadian, as it happens. All these are people who spoke English as their first language. I knew this cat called Philip, who today is a published author, who today has a PhD. And he was already in his 30s when I first knew him. And, whatever the explanation was, this is long before coronavirus. This is long before smartphones, now that I think about it. Before laptop computers had become ubiquitous and taken over people's lives. Really, laptop computers existed. The Nokia phone existed, but this is going back. Somehow, he had grown up in the 1990s without ever learning to write in his own first language. So when I met him, when we had this conversation, he was kind of applying for PhD programs. He hadn't yet made the transition to starting a PhD, and as I mentioned, he was in his early 30s. And my reaction to seeing his handwriting and to hearing his justification for why he was getting through life with these, rough assemblages of intersecting flat lines on first language, my reaction was so negative, right, that he went to the library and got out the books to teach himself cursive handwriting that day. That's what he told me. He was older than I was, by the way. I didn't lecture him. I didn't give him advice the same way. But just my reaction, that's according to him, my facial expression, right? My astonishment looking at his handwriting and hearing him make these excuses for it. He got the message, and he went to the library and got the books and buckled down on improving his ability in English. Now, at that time, he had already studied many other languages. Really, then already I could call him an accomplished polyglot, actually, and he was getting stuck into Sanskrit pretty seriously. It was Sanskrit that interested him. It was in the Sanskrit language he would write his PhD. He did, So at that time, I was studying several languages. There's no point giving my autobiography here. But, okay, so here we are, and you're trying to prove yourself as an intellectual, and you're even taking pride in your penmanship, in forming the glyphs used to express the Sanskrit language. Okay, it's actually called Devanagari, so the written form is not called Sanskrit. And I'm over here, I'm studying these languages. But there's this huge gap in your own ability to communicate in English. Now, what's up? What's going on psychologically here? Think about it. And until he met me, the excuses he had, he didn't see any problem with it. Right? This reminds me of a few other anecdotes I'm not going to tell. Super briefly, I once bumped into this woman. I would guess she was 22. Could have been 25. She's a beautiful young woman in her mid-20s. And when I saw her handwriting, again, my facial expression. This is a white woman in Canada. Her first language is English. She doesn't know any language other than English. Okay, sorry, some of you might assume I'm talking about a woman in Cambodia or something, or a woman in China. No. And look, so this woman in her 20s, everyone's been damaged by coronavirus. But obviously I'm left to wonder to what extent her education, whether high school or university or both or something, to what extent that was disrupted by coronavirus and the effect it's had on institutions and the attitudes of people in positions of institutional authority. I don't. Anyway, this is really incredibly beautiful young woman. She's, truth be told, she's a candidate for the most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes on. She was really that good looking. And I look at her handwriting, and then I look at her. And I mean, obviously, I have no idea how she interpreted the expression on my face. But I was looking back and forth through her handwriting thinking, because what are you, 5 years old? Have I totally misjudged this? This handwriting is so bad. To me, this looks like a small child struggling to get through primary school. Look, the point of this video is not to celebrate my own snobbery, okay? The polyglot phenomenon of taking on the challenge of learning a new language with no professor, no exam, no grade, no way to fail, right? These are people on the internet. Either they succeed or they quit, but there is no fail. Either they succeed or they pause or they take a break or they start studying yet another language. You get into a third language and a fourth language and a fifth language, and you can come back to the second language later. But there is nobody to judge you. There is nobody to reproach you. There is no experience like Philip had of seeing the expression of my face and just feeling dejected, feeling that you're not good enough. As soon as you get in this polyglot ego trip, you're surrounded by people who are warm and encouraging and who reward your curiosity and who recognize the effort you're making. That was certainly true of Philip. In case you haven't heard of this religion called Hinduism, there were a whole lot of people giving him positive reinforcement. Isn't it wonderful that this white Canadian who speaks English as a first language is now making the effort to learn Sanskrit, to learn the ancient, sacred, scriptural language of their religion, their philosophy, their literary tradition, okay? Different sociolinguistic attitudes in different places. When I was learning Lao, the Lao people were very positive and encouraging, okay? When I was learning Cambodian, it was the opposite. Cambodia is right next door to Laos, but totally different. sociolinguistic attitudes. Point is, this is a way of never dealing with the deficit you've got in your own first language. Now, you may ask me, Zell, can you write a newspaper article in Chinese? I have written newspaper articles in Chinese. I have published newspaper articles in Chinese. Let's take it down one level. Can you write a letter to the editor of a newspaper in Chinese, disagreeing with an article, and then have them read it, understand your Chinese, and publish it without any changes? I've done that in Chinese. Okay? But the question is, can you do it in English? This is 2026. In the last 25 years, between 2001, when I had that conversation with Philip, and 2026, in these 25 years, the culture of penmanship has disintegrated. The culture of caring about your handwriting, caring about the quality of your handwriting, caring about the quality of your own written expression in an abstract sense, caring about the quality of your voice, has disintegrated in these 25 years. The culture of caring about reading in your own first language, of being well read, of being a good author, of being excellent at written composition, even if you're typing on a keyboard instead of using pen and paper, right? That has disintegrated in the last 25 years. And at the core of the polyglot phenomenon is this human instinct, this psychological compensation, whereby people want to have the positive reward of writing and publishing their first article in Chinese, getting wrapped up in a loving, supportive Sanskrit study community, whatever it may be, when they cannot write and publish a newspaper article in English. If you're not eloquent in your first language, if you're not well spoken, if you're not charismatic, if you're not a good author, studying a second language will only make that worse. You are deepening your disability in your first language, and you're distracting yourself with the positive reward that engaging with a second language in a multicultural society sometimes can bring.
Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? I hate school too. We all hate school. You weren't gonna read the PhD anyway. It's vibes-based. You either have that dog in you. What are you doing? You're either chomping at the weights or you're not. And no amount of periodization makes you eat dog food and take your dog vitamins and go to the dog park. That's in your mind. It's physical therapy. That's what a PhD can't fucking give you. That's what these science-based YouTubers can't get through your fucking head.